I'm going to have to ask your, this is, I just, one second here, I'm sorry. It mandates a real quick wardrobe change.
I'm good.
Oh my goodness.
I apologize in advance for this poem. This is my own design. This is genuine muskrat on top of a roughly 2X base here. I created this out in Elko, Nevada. I've been to that poetry gathering a few times, and I'm on Central Time with you guys, and so when I go out there, it's Pacific Time, so I'm up at 3:30 in the morning, and I have lots of time for my creative endeavors, and this is the fruit of one of those mornings. So it gets warm really fast, so I might speed up in this poem here. Are there any hunters in the audience out there? Anybody hunt deer or birds or
Pigeons.
anybody go outside on occasion? Okay, all right. We'll be all right. It'll be just fine. Really, I do this as more of a public service announcement. It is hunting season, and one just cannot be too cautious. Marv set out early, dark 30 that morning late in the fall. Fresh snow on moonlit mountains, a day as pretty as he could recall. He'd seen signs of giants there on his preliminary scouts. Now he was sighted in and bundled up and prepared to wait one out. Well, he scoped out a spot and he took a seat at the base of a pinyon pine where he figured he'd be downwind and in a little natural blind. His stomach was a touch uneasy as he waited for the light. Must be that combination plate he'd eaten late last night. Well, he glanced the horizon a little as his tummy continued to talk when, sure enough, at the base of a bluff, monster buck, 2 o'clock. His heart was skipping beats. He could barely believe his eyes. It was the biggest deer by far old Marv had ever seen alive. Well, he grabbed his gun without blinking, moving silently but quick. That buck holed up behind the cedar, and he could see that he was thick. But of his interior unrest, he was reminded once again as the flutters from the butterflies fanned the flames within. But he was going to bag this big boy. No way he was leaving buckless, but that deer kept teasing with his leg like some ruminant seductress. Marv swallowed hard as a bead of sweat trickled down his face, uncertain if that buck or his supper be the one to win the race. His eyes were locked on that leg, but something else was on his mind, the figuring as to how he'd get his britches down in time. Well, the deer looked like he might do it. He took a step and then he stopped. And as hoof hit the ground, old Marv heard a sound and felt the bottom drop. He set down his gun just like someone had a pistol in his back. No doubt, this was a runaway train on his digestive tract. Well, the race was on. He was off the line with unprecedented urgency. It was code red. All hands on deck, a redneck fashion emergency. Fumbling fast as he could, he cursed that blaze orange vest he bought. Why on earth had he decided to tie a double knot? Meanwhile, below the surface, his insides had gone loco like the Cholula gal had his lower colon in a chokehold. Next on to that little coat he loved. Now he cussed the thing. Dang these blasted buttons, must there really be 13? Well, Jimmy Dean tried to set the pace, but a hoagie had to supersede as that fiber-rich Fiesta was fighting for the lead. Marv was moving down the line while maintaining constant clinch as the Spanish rice and refried beans advanced another inch. It was going to be a photo finish. And if he lost, one heck of a wreck. with his motor skills and a green chili enchilada neck and neck. With the last button finally free so quick he threw it down, he had his coveralls half unzipped before it ever hit the ground. Now, the long handles he'd got on the cheap because the leg lengths didn't match. In hindsight, he was wishing he'd have splurged and got the hatch. But they should be all that's left. He was just about to get her when for a second he froze when he exposed that bloomin' Christmas sweater. It was a doorstep of disaster. The straits were dang sure dire. He reached over his head and had it shed like it was raging fire. The handles at last. He had that fast, gripped the middle with both hands and ripped them open in one motion like a woodland Superman. His figure writhed, his storms collided inside his twisting paunch, closing in on the end of the countdown and the blast-off for the launch. He grabbed a sapling pine and fast reclined without a second left to spare, a thumb under his elastic, and was clear by just a hair. Melvin warmed in. Those habaneros were hot, and my gosh, he wasn't joking. Marv could smell the burning sagebrush. His barrel was still smoking. He'd lost it. His one shot at Boone and Crockett fame. That buck had took off like a rocket. Yes, he must have saw the flames. Marv slowly regained his composure, wore out, but sure relieved until he reassembled and realized he put the kill shot down his sleeves. So if you're ever up high in the Sangre Mountains and you hear a drone man scream, move away from the sound, but chamber around. You might see the buck of your dreams.